All right. Um, hey, everyone. Welcome to the Nevada Beat Update. My name's Brian Mitchell, and I'm the director of OSIT. And this webinar is being put on by the Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology, or OSIT, which is the state broadband office in Nevada. I'm really excited that you're all here, either live or watching the recording of the video. It's really exciting to be on the precipice of launching the BEAD subgrantee selection process after what seems like forever and a huge amount of time in putting together all of the documents and paperwork necessary to get to this point. Nevada will be one of the first states to launch its BEAD subgrantee selection process. And so we're excited to be here, and we're excited that you're interested in participating in the BEAD program. Let me get to a couple of answers to a few common questions right off the bat. So first, we're recording this webinar, and we'll be posting the webinar, posting this recording to the OSIT YouTube channel, and then the slides that we'll show here today, as well as a link to the recording, will also be posted on the OSIT website over the next couple of days. Second, this will be the first of several technical assistance webinars over the next few weeks that OSIT will put on. They'll all be recorded and they'll all be posted to the website. How we intend to do this is we'll have, during these technical assistance webinars, is we'll have time at the beginning dedicated to content. And then after that, we will stop the recording and we will then have open office hours for questions the remainder of the time. And so more information on the future TA topics will be posted in the next few weeks. Let's see. Maybe that's better. All right, so here are the topics that we're going to be covering today during the webinar. So we'll talk a little bit about, give you a quick update on BEAD. We'll have regional project areas. We'll provide an overview of that. We'll talk a little bit about subgrantee selection, give you a preview of that. And then we'll talk about pre-qualification, the pre-qualification process, and provide a demonstration of the pre-qualification portal. And then we'll conclude with questions. All right. Our vision is that all Nevadans have access to high-speed internet that is affordable, reliable, and scalable. We developed this vision through thousands of hours of community and stakeholder engagement during the development of the state's 5-year action plan, and as well as the BEAD initial proposal. So BEAD was created by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and provides federal funding to all 50 states for planning, deployment, mapping, equity, and adoption activities. IIJA was allocated $42.5 billion to the BEAD program, and of that $42.5 billion, Nevada was allocated $416 million. The BEAD program is part of the High Speed Nevada initiative. More information on that can be found on our website. Phase 3 of that initiative will deploy last mile infrastructure and connect over 52,000 unserved and underserved locations. All right. Speaking of BEAD, both Volume 1 and Volume 2 of OSIT's initial proposal have been approved by NTIA. Volume 1 of Nevada's initial proposal focused on identifying available funding for broadband, the locations of unserved and underserved and community anchor institutions that didn't have gigabit service, and the process to submit challenges to the location lists. The challenge process was the first step in the upcoming infrastructure deployment process, including the forthcoming subgrantee selection process. The challenge process identified the locations that are eligible for funding. Volume 2 of Nevada's initial proposal focused primarily on defining how the subgrantee selection process would run. If you want a preview of what's of the upcoming request for applications, what that'll look like, then have a look at our volume 2. To facilitate the challenge process, OSET created a challenge portal. In keeping with NTIA rules, the eligible challengers were internet service providers, local and tribal governments, and nonprofit organizations. The challenge process began with a notice to all eligible challengers on February 20th. The portal then opened on February 27th. Challengers had 30 days to submit their challenges. The challenge window was then followed by a 30-day rebuttal window, where any entity that was challenged could provide a rebuttal. Finally, OSIT adjudicated all of the challenges and rebuttals during the final determination phase. OSIT published a list of final locations on its website, along with a list of all submitted challenges and rebuttals during the challenge period. We then submitted that final list of locations to NTIA for validation and approval, which they have done. The challenge process was important because it allowed all challengers to submit information about existing service that wasn't reflected in the map, planned service or planned expansions of existing service, and then places where the map was not accurate. So now that the challenge process has been completed and we have a final list of locations that are eligible for BEAD, OSIT is moving forward with subgrantee selection, which we'll discuss a little bit more about today. Once subgrantee selection is concluded, OSIT will make provisional awards, and we will submit a final proposal to NTIA that indicates how every single location identified in the challenge process will be served. So here we have our timeline. We plan to open the subgrantee selection later this month, so stay tuned. And then we'll submit our final proposal to NTIA prior to the end of this year. We believe that with this timeline, BEAD last mile deployment will begin in early 2025. Simultaneously, we'll be operating the digital equity program of the state that will help individuals find affordability resources they qualify for, access a connected device, and obtain digital literacy and digital skills that they need. OSET plans to be very strategic about the deployment of these digital equity dollars and plans to use them in part to help BEAD awardees increase adoption rates. So as we described in our initial proposal, volume 2, OSIT has grouped unserved and underserved locations and eligible community anchor institutions that were identified during the challenge process into what we're calling regional project areas, or RPAs. And we recently published a map of these RPAs as well as a GIS package. The RPA map was designed to visualize the RPAs across the state. And these project areas will guide the distribution of funding to BEAD awardees. OSIT will conduct a fair, open, and transparent subgrantee selection process that will allocate funding to the winning applicants that to serve every unserved and underserved location within the RPA. We'll have a little bit more information about the subgrantee selection process in the future. As we described in our initial proposal, volume 2, the RPAs were generated through an algorithmic process, specifically k-means clustering and the aggregation of BEAD-eligible BSLs as Voronoi polygons. We gave careful consideration to tribal areas and county boundaries in the creation of these RPAs. And then following an initial review, we made some small adjustments to the boundaries. I want to thank all of you who submitted public comments to the RPA map last month. Many of you submitted comments that were very specific and very detailed and identified ways that the RPAs could be designed to most efficiently and effectively reach universal coverage. And we were able to make a few adjustments based on the comments that came in. To assist interested applicants, we also provided a package of GIS data that can be downloaded and imported into your GIS systems, as well as a final list of eligible locations approved by NTIA in a CSV format. And all of those have been posted online, as well as a technical assistance video on our YouTube channel that describes how to interact with this data. And we encourage everyone to view it. If you have questions, just please reach out to us. All right, so subgrantee selection process. Here I'll describe some of the philosophies we have regarding the subgrantee selection process and And then also not just the subgrantee selection process, but also further into deployment and project completion. I want to start by making a couple of things really clear. We want everyone to apply. We also want as many applications as possible. And so in order to incentivize and in order to achieve that, we've tried to make every effort within the rules that are required by our federal funders to make this as an attractive opportunity as possible and to allow you the maximum flexibility under the federal rules as possible when you're applying and then when you're deploying service to unserved areas. So in talking about these, here are a couple of ways that we've tried to make this process as attractive and as easy as possible for you. First, we designed the RPAs in a way where we hope that it will maximize the number of bids from all providers. We wanted to design these in a way that for these to look like really good business opportunities for you. We know that that this is a partnership and that that we can't expect providers to serve areas and not make money. So we want to make these we wanted to make these RPAs as attractive as business opportunities as possible. The second is we want to make the application process as easy as possible for you. So a couple of ways that we've done that is we've created an application portal that will guide you through the process of submitting information rather than having to submit it as a single PDF to us. The process will help you understand what information to submit. You can save along the way as you go, so you don't have to complete it in one setting. And we'll make sure that you don't miss anything in any of the required information through the process. We've also split the application into two parts that will make it easier for you to apply and will also reduce the paperwork burden for those applicants that are bidding on more than one RPA. So there will be two different parts to the application. The first part will cover information that will be the same for every application. Information like some of the financial information or the company information or information about some of the key management leaders, etc. So you'll only have to fill that out once, even if you're applying for, say, 10 different RPAs. The second part of the application will then cover specific information to the individual RPA. Things like the network design and the cost that you bid. And so some of that information will be specific, and you'll be able to reference in your specific applications to RPA the general information in part one. Third, we wanted to try to make the reporting process as easy as possible. To do that, we will be using a grants management platform that will have easy-to-use templates where you'll be able to provide all of the required reporting information directly into the portal. This will make things a little bit easier for you in terms of providing information to us that is required by our federal funders. Finally, the final way I think that we'll try to make this as easy and attractive an opportunity to potential applicants as possible is we want to make the flow of money from us to you during deployment as smooth as possible. One way that we'll do this is that OSIP will utilize fixed amount subawards, which will offer payments to providers based on the completion of milestones that are defined by OSIT. This will reduce the paperwork burden on you and also the review time that we have to review your milestones and invoices. And it'll help get funds into your hands faster so that you can continue deployment. We'll have more information about this probably in the next week or two when we release information, more specific information about the subgrantee selection process and the request for applications that's coming. So let's talk a little bit about pre-qualification. That's the task that we have before us today. So what is pre-qualification? This is an initial process that will provide us at the state with some very basic information that is needed to ensure that you're eligible to provide service in Nevada. So this includes things like having a state business license. It'll ensure that you are registered with the state controller's office as a vendor so that we can pay you, et cetera. This should not take very long to complete. And I'm glad to see that many of you have already started. The pre-qualification process, perhaps unlike some other states, is not designed to exclude or to rate or score applicants. Rather, it is designed to make sure that we have all of the basic information up front so that if you are awarded, we don't have to scramble on the back end because you don't have a business license, or we don't have to deny a provisional award because you don't have a business license, et cetera. So what is the deadline to pre-qualify? This is a question that I've had come up a couple of times. The pre-qualification process will stay open as long as the application process will be open. So you must pre-qualify prior to submitting an application. Now, in order to submit your application, you have to have been pre-qualified. So you have to receive an applicant number from us and be certified as being pre-qualified. So don't wait until 11:59 p.m. on the day that the applications are due to submit your pre-qualification to us, because you'll run out of time to submit the application and we won't be able to pre-qualify you. So get it in early, but the deadline is, essentially the deadline is, however much time it takes us to get that taken care of for you prior to submitting your application. We are going to have a demonstration of the pre-qualification portal at the end of the slides. So stay tuned for that. All right. I want to just briefly talk about some of the upcoming technical assistance that we are going to provide over the next 2.5 to 3 weeks. So these are the topics that you see on the slides are topics that we're going to cover in webinars similar to this one over the next couple of weeks. On Friday, we will provide for you a batch of new information. So the first will be a schedule for all of the future TA with save the dates and Zoom registration links. So be on the lookout for that. Second, we will also be providing you with the reference pricing for all of the RPAs in the RPA list. So that information will help you as you begin to take a look at the RPAs and which ones you want to apply for. So that will come on Friday. And then next week, we expect to launch in the next probably week to week and a half. We expect to launch the subgrantee selection process and open up the RFA for applications. Finally, I just want to, before we move over to the demonstration of the pre-qualification portal, I just want to talk a little bit about the procedure for questions. So one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure, that this entire subgrantee selection process is fair and competitive and neutral. And so OSIT will not be answering questions on a one-on-one basis, either via phone call or via email, unless they're extremely basic questions like, what's your website? So all questions should be submitted to the high-speed nv@gov.nv.gov mailbox. And we will begin to aggregate questions and post them via written FAQ on our website. And we will continuously update that FAQ on a regular basis so that you can get timely answers to your questions, but also see the questions that everybody else is answering. So everybody gets access to those questions at the same time. So that's the procedure. Take down this email address and please start sending in your questions so that we can get those answered for you. And again, we'll try to be as timely as possible. And with that, let's turn over to, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'm going to introduce Colin Kennedy, who is with CTC, and one of our contractors, who is going to run you through the pre-qualification portal. So Colin, I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you, Brian. I'll just get my screen share kicked over here. Alrighty, so we should now see the application portal here. So this will be the landing page that you all land on once you get into the portal as you take the follow the link. So this will give you some general opportunity information just on this front page here. So again, we have that contact email here if you have any questions that need to go over to Nevada. And then there is some general descriptions in here as well as a submission open date. And there is a URL down here that will take you to the broadband website for OSIT if you would like to look at that for some further information. A few buttons up here that you'll use to navigate around. At any point, you can click print to download print a copy of your application. This help button here will take you to the Amplifund user guide. There may be some more specific information in here if you have a question. At any point, you can also use this download button here to download a zip file of your application, all of the attachments, and everything associated with that for your records. Throughout the application, you will see a save button. I recommend saving frequently so that you don't lose anything if you're disconnected for any reason. And then finally, we have the apply button here. So if we go ahead and apply, you'll be brought to an Amplifund login screen. And you're going to go ahead and register down here. And this is where you're going to put in your information for your account. So for testing purposes, we'll just put in a fake email here. And then select a password. There'll be some information for your contact for your agency here. And as well as some organizational information and an opportunity to enter the name of the organization that is applying. All right, so once you're done with that, you will go to register. If there's an issue with the application, if any of the fields are entered incorrectly for this registration here, you'll get an error message in red, and then you can go up and test this or change this. And then it'll bring you to an agreement. This is for the grants management system Amplifund, so have a read through this. And then when you're ready, you can accept down here. And this will now take you logged in to your user account back to the landing page with the opportunity information. So go ahead and click apply. As you navigate through here, there will be a navigation bar along the top. You can at any time click these circles here to move around the application. A check mark indicates that you have finished this section and marked it as complete. The bullseye symbol here represents that is the section you're looking at. So right now we're in the project information section. And again, we still have the help, download, save buttons here. We now have a save and continue button. So this will save everything on the page and bring you to the next section of the application. To move on from the section, you will need to mark it as complete, and Amplifund will validate to ensure that you've entered something into all required fields before you can mark as complete. So we'll go ahead and just put in some test information here. For application name, you're going to want to put your organization name. Now for award requested, since this is a pre-qualification application, there is not any funding that you'll be requesting here. So for this, you can just enter 0.01, and that will allow you to move forward with the application. And again, you're going to enter your primary contact information for the application itself. Now, if we were to just click save and continue here, we would have to come back and mark it as complete. But if we ever need to, we can just save and come back to this application later. So we'll go ahead and mark this as complete, and then we'll save and continue. All right, so there's only one form for pre-qualification. Most of the content of the application will be here. If there were more forms, you would see a few more listed here. So we're going to go ahead and either click save and continue or click on the form itself. Save and continue is fine here. And you can see now we've moved to the application forms section. There's some instructions up here. Please read through these and pay attention to them. They're just giving you some information on the fact that the asterisk marks a field as required. You won't be able to mark the field as the form as complete until all of those are taken care of. There's a reminder about the amount requested for the project information page for entering a penny there. And then as far as confidential information, if there is anything in this application that needs to be marked as confidential, there's a section at the end of the application where you can enter those files independently. Just please designate in the fields that that file is associated with that there's confidential information being uploaded to the final fields. All right, so just to move along through here, we'll put in some test information. At times, you'll see a number below a field. This designates what the character limit is for that field. So when it hits 0, you're out of characters. And if you have a separate mailing address, you can choose that here. All right. So if you're a domestic corporation, we have a branching logic here. If you're not, they're just going to ask you if you're a foreign corporation. And you select your entity type. So the application throughout is broken up into sections here. If you have a question about any specific field, you can use the field number here. So if you are licensed to do business in Nevada, you should be entering your business ID here and uploading any proof of that registration. For any place where there's a file upload, it would work just like any file upload. You just click choose file here and then attach your relevant files. We can accept zip files, so if there are multiple files, you can zip those together. And then we'll just breeze through the rest of this with some test information and get to submitting. In some places, you may see some further instructions, like up here. If you see a link that's referenced in any of these instructions, you can click that. That will be a live link that will take you directly to the resource. And then finally, we have some certifications. Certifications which are required for the application will only allow you to choose to certify. You will not be able to submit unless those are certified. If it is not required for the application, you'll have an option to choose yes or no. And finally, to upload a signature, you'll be able to take a scan of your written signature and upload it with the choose file here. and we'll select the date of signature and put in a username or her printed name there. And then finally, we have the confidential file field here. So if there is anything that you do need to mark as confidential, you would upload that here. These next two fields are not used unless you're instructed to by OSIT. These are meant to capture any additional information that is later needed that's not configured in the application. Finally, if there's a curing request made to this application, you will go down here and select yes, describe the information that you've changed in the application, and then upload any relevant files. For the first time that you're entering this application, you'll leave this field blank or select no. Either way is acceptable. And now to move forward, I do need to upload something to the signature here. So I'm just going to briefly kick off my screen share so that I can open up my file manager and upload something. And then we can jump on back over here. So now you can see it, the file is uploaded. If you ever need to check that file again, you can click on the green link here and that will download the file so you can verify that what you uploaded is correct. And finally, we're going to mark this section as complete. Everything was filled out correctly here, so we'll just get a notification saying that we can move forward. If there was something incorrect here, just like on the project information page, we would get some red text next to that field. We'd have to go back up there, just change that information as directed, and then move forward. So with everything ready to go, we can save and continue one more time. And we will arrive at this final page here, which is just a bit of information to remind you that you're submitting this application. You are able to click this review button here to download a zip file of your entire application. I'd suggest doing that so that you have your own copy. This will download a PDF of the application itself, as well as any attachment that you uploaded to the file upload fields. Finally, we will press submit. And we'll get a notification saying that the submission was successful. And at this point, if there were any fields that were not completed or any sections, any forms of the application that were not marked as completed with that button at the bottom of the page, you would get a notification here. And you would just use this bar along the top here to navigate back to either the project information or the application forms. Go ahead and correct that information, press the mark as complete button at the bottom of the page, and then you should be able to submit. Right, and that is all for the portal. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much, Colin. All right, so that concludes the content that we have today. So I am going to stop the recording